Yo, what's up guys? You got pokeaimMD here. Today I want to be talking about the Pangoro, Shiftry, Sigilyph, and Barbaracle Ban in Pokemon Sword and Shield. Are you? Now, I'm excited because this means that the BL Knights are just growing, and I don't know that series. Basically, it's a series that me and Blender do where Pokemon that are BL, whether it be BL1, BL2, BL3, whatever, if they get banned from UU, get banned from RU, get banned from NU, we use them in the series on the OU ladder, and as a way of showing, yeah, these Pokemon might be banned and too good for their tier, and maybe not have any usage in the tier above, but hey, they're viable in the OU tier. So I'm pretty excited for that. However, I'm going to be real. While RU was my favorite tier last generation, I haven't played much of it this gen. But what I do remember is that Pangoro was absolutely busted in that showdown live that I did. So this one's going to be more of a discussion. I mean, they're all discussion videos, but this one's going to be more reading what they say and then, I guess, reflecting on it more so than my own opinion drawn from a bunch of lattery. So this is what they said Saturday. I didn't even know this happened, by the way. This was like made aware to me on the stream. But Pangoro is arguably the tier's best wall breaker. Its choice band set allows it to tear open balanced teams with scrappy close combat, even to a KO in many of the tiers fighting resist. Its access to knockoff allows it. It does have access to knockoff now with Pokemon Home. Allows it to severely cripple, if not outright KO, the few Pokemon that can stomach a choice band close combat. Its bulk also allows it to take hits from weaker attackers such as Rotom and walls like Steelix, giving you a decent amount of opportunities to switch in and nab a kill. Because of its incredible wall-breaking prowess, Pangoro has been nominated to be part of the voting slate. So again, right here is when they were talking about discussing them, and they're just giving us the reasons. Now, like I said, I do remember that even post-home, pre-home, Pangoro was a ridiculous wall breaker, and having Scrappy is insane because if you didn't know, Scrappy means that you can close combat even ghost types, or and it also means that you have an immunity to Intimidate, which isn't that huge when it came to this tier. But I mean, Quillfish can't be a check anymore. And I mean, if you're looking a little bit lower, I guess him on top as well. But like Quillfish was something that could come in on like a fighting type attack from Pangoro on either Spike or Threatening. Now it doesn't because Scrappy ignores that, so it gets to a KO'd. Anyway, we have Shiftry next. Shiftry has the perfect combination of speed, power, and coverage that makes it uncounterable. I did talk about Shiftry, by the way, when RU was formed and weather, so I'm very happy that this mon is considered good. It's astounding speed and access to priorities undercut. Like else is astounding, whereas 284 would not have been anything last gen. Its astounding speed and access to priority undercuts the ability for most offensive teams to deal with it. Additionally, high-powered attacks such as Stab, Solar Blade, and Sun-boosted Heat Waves allow it to cleave through most of the high-tiered walls. Regaining access to knockoff has made it even more troublesome to deal with. The council has several back-and-forth discussions on what to do with drought, and most of us come to the conclusion that voting on Shiftry is the best approach for the time being. So, okay, so that they just said there, and forgive me while you hear me open up my window because it is hot as hell in my office, but it is cold as hell outside. Shout out to New York, you already know. The weather being all crazy past few days. Nothing like 16 next day, and today is 41. You know, it's alright. I don't know how they expect us to survive out here, but we New Yorkers, we good, we got tens. But anyway, many of the council do not believe other Sunsweepers are the same level as Shiftry, either due to lack of coverage, speed, power, or some combination of the three. The fire types, while dangerous, also have checks or limited switching opportunities, making them fairly manageable as well. If a situation on drought changes, we may look into additional options to deal with. So, okay, so they deemed that Shiftry was a little bit more broken than anything else that abused Sun. So something that comes to mind is like Leafeon, for instance, or the fire types. And that instead of dealing with drought immediately, they decided to deal with the Shiftry. Now, again, I'm all for suspect tests and whatnot, but it seems like they thought that 4 Pokemon in itself were actually broken. And those that actually play RU, feel free to let me know as well. Sigilyph has the perfect concoction of the traits that made it one of the most threatening special attackers in the tier. I don't know why that was so hard for me. Great coverage, immunity to passive damage, and an excellent speed tier that allows it to sit atop all but a handful of viable Pokemon. Sigilyph's versatility as a special attacker plays a part in how difficult it is to manage. It can employ several sets such as Life Orb 3 attacks, Offensive Calm Mind, even Tinted Lens choice specs that are all very encounters. Because of this and its ability to outlast many of its checks, has been put up to be voted with. And I do want to talk about Shiftry. That Magic Guard obviously makes a huge difference, doesn't care about hazards and whatnot, and Life Orb not taking any damage from it, having reliable recovery now as well. We had it before, but Another thing, like I know that Gigalith is really good in RU, and that was one of the checks, and even Pangoro, but obviously Pangoro falls to like a Life Orb Air Slash or Dazzling Gleam, and Gigalith doesn't appreciate multiple energy balls unless it's packing Rest plus Aromatherapy slash Heal Bell on the team, and now Heal Bell, or now Aromatherapy, whichever one, yeah, now Heal Bell on the team. I do know that like Wish Vaporeon plus Gigalith was very common, and like even then, like even Flame Orb Psycho Shift could be something scary for it, but I do know that offensive Sigilyph was a little bit better. And then Barbaracle. Barbaracle is perhaps one of the most devastating set of sweepers in the tier. Barbaracle is capable of taking turns off of several prominent Pokemon, including Snorlax, various Silvally forms, and Choice Lock attackers. Additionally, under Aurora Veil, who knew about Aurora Veil? I do think that Aurora Veil eventually is going to be suspect tested, by the way, guys, in every tier, whether it be NU, RU, whatever. Originally under Aurora Veil or even dual screen setup opportunities are amplified even further. Once set up, Barbaracle is one of the reach. Once set up, Barbaracle becomes out of reach for all but Choice Scarf Salazzle, which has only Foul Play, and Mach Punch for Hitmonlee and Girder, which are all ineffective with screen support. Its incredible power and flexible coverage slot leaves very little to stop it once it's set up. So, after they posted this on Saturday, they decided to have a vote via the council, and let's see what the results were. You guys read the title. So, a lot of people are banned. Shiftry don't ban. I think this was the only person who voted, who talked about in the thread, which is a little bit sad, I feel. But then again, that could also, there is a Discord for RE, so there are a lot of them probably talking there, and there also is the showdown room. So, as you can see right there, all of them were voted banned. Pangoro was not even controversial. Sigilyph, Shiftry was close. Barbaracle was close. But let's see what they had to say about Sigilyph. I'll take the... I want to read the do not ban option on Sigilyph first. And then we'll go into a ban option as well. I'll read Evi's. And then we'll read Atomic Llamas. But another tough one that I think should be revisited in the future. I think Sigilyph has been overhyped and is something that is better on paper than in practice. While the removal of Pursuit has certainly made it better, I think the drop of Home will be net negative for it. Defog and Toxic hurt it as much as help it by reducing pressure on defensive mons and improving defensive mons in general, while Knockoff coming back is certainly to its detriment. Additionally, there are a lot of things on offense that can take a hit and KO back or outspeed it and take it down. Defensive teams struggle a little more with setup Sigilyph, but I still think there are plenty of otherwise good options you can fit on the team to do it, Sigilyph. Okay, I guess it's a fair thing, but the part of the reason that it was suspect tested, I'm just reading, was because of its ability to run whatever set it is. So I mean, if your offensive option to it is like, I don't know, like a Scarf Dark type, and it's offensive come on, or like Focus Sash or anything like that too, or like Scrafty or something, and it's Focus Sash Dazzling Gleam, which I knew was a set that ran back in the day. You know, I guess it all depends on the sets, but sure, that's fair. It's not like it has one set that's outright busted. What Smogon thought about Melmetal. I'm sorry. Let's go to what Evie says about Ban. Sigilyph does too many things too well for it to be very stable presence in the tier. It's an excellent breaker with limited switches. It's an amazing defogger with great sustain and has incredible setup capabilities that can allow it to go past multiple checks. While in some ways it doesn't look that different to his former Sun and Moon NU role, the depth of pursuit, the complete lack of good defensive pivots, and a speed tier that got so much better from last generation, and those are all fair points. I do think Pursuit being gone is the hugest thing for both Psychics as well as Ghost types, and we've already seen how, and I'll go back to what Evie's saying, my bad to interrupt her. We've already seen how that has taken a place in OU, how Ghost types are, you know, #1 and then up there as well, top 10, but complete lack of good defensive pivots and speed tier that got so much amazing. The ways to revenge Sigilyph nowadays are limited to a handful of mons that aren't particularly great. Bolton, Liepard, Cinccino, and Galvantula, which are massively unreliable as switch-ins, of course. None of those switching to Life Orb attacks, which are massively unreliable switch-ins and can't force it to take damage anyway. Or Scarfer that needs to lock into knockoff that, for the most part, due to more than one of them having stabs that Sigilyph keep in check. And when she makes reference to that, she's talking about like a fighting type, for example, like Sock or Hitmonlee, whereas Sigilyph can check close combat, but like the knockoff would have to go back, and I guess it forms 50-50s. What Evie is basically saying is that this Pokemon just does what it can do, does it really well, and checking is hard. That's why most of them voted ban on this. Same venue as Pangoro, except for with more stuff going for him to Mr. Aldo. We all know what Siggy does, but this time the metagame is much more favorable, has been for it maybe ever. I do think the speed tier drop and everything, a really privileged speed tier, yep, in a meta where stuff is sluggish, no pursuit is a big boom for it, because I do like that these people are posting stuff, and I feel like that's something that we should do for the UU Council as well. Really privileged speed tier in a meta where stuff is sluggish. No pursuit is a big boom for it because there's literally no way to effectively punish it, and other sets have ways around its defensive checks. Agreed. So it's super hard to handle in the grand scope of things. Hazards aren't even an option for it. Yeah, I think this one has to go as much as I like it. I feel that. So for Sigilyph, it was almost unanimous, and then there was 2 do not ban. I found Sigilyph to be less and less broken as it's felt when the tier started. It's an incredible, good Pokemon, but I really don't think it's ban worthy. In fact, I've seen more teams now using it less and having more counterplay to it at the same time, making it pretty manageable in the tier. Oh, that was kind of like a really vague comment, I would say, from Fellyburn. Again, no disrespect to Fellyburn, but that was really vague. It doesn't really show examples how. It just says, I feel most teams have answers to it, but whatever. Sigilyph was voted banned. Let's go Pangoro. Pangoro, 100% ban. Yo, okay, Alvarado, I'm going to read yours because you bolded it. Easily the best wall breaker of the tier. 124 attack with access scrapping, close combat. Provides 0 risk and high rewards. Agreed. It also just got back knockoff, making previous switch-ins like Mudsdale and Vileplume worse checks. Its bulk and access to Drain Punch also makes it incredibly hard to revenge kill. Overall, I think the pressure Pangoro puts on the team builder is too unhealthy for the tier. Again, I do specifically remember when I was using Pangoro in the RU tier that, and if you guys want to check out the live, feel free to. I think it was like one of those, like, it was one of my enter videos. I think it was like enter Eldegoss or something, and I used like choice band Pangoro, and Eldegoss was like my pivot to take a hit, get a regenerator. I get in Pangoro on every double, and I just kill everything with close combat. But I think they all agree on the same thing. This one I really think, strongly think should be revisited later on. Okay, so Evie actually is pro-ban for Pangoro, but she believes that it should be revisited every on, as Pangoro benefits heavily from a meta that isn't super developed and severely lacking in defensive variety that will hopefully come back later on. But for now, Pangoro is simply way too strong for the tier, and getting knockoff back makes it even better. Choice Ban is dumb, Swords Dance is also dumb, has decent bulk, good typing, so it can almost always take a hit despite being slow. Find Pangoro to be tad unhealthy for the tier due to the raw power it has, coupled with Scrappy and Trace Ban means it predicts you have to make are less effective because it basically 2 gives everything in the tier with Ban and CC, and now after home has access to knockoff. So they're all in agreement. That's fair. Barbaracle. I'm gonna look at the do not ban options. Mr. Aldo put do not ban. Ban, do not ban. Odd Della. Okay, I'll read yours because I like your name. Not denying this is a big threat, but it finds trouble getting setup opportunities. Dropping its own defense means it basically requires Veil to screen support, which can be hard to set up with Ninetales, Torkoal, and Gigalith being so prominent to block Veil. I think that's fair. I think that's very fair. Gigalith is amazing in the tier. And then you also have Sun Weather as well. Though I don't think that works for dual screens. But as in, I know that doesn't work for dual screens. I mean, that argument doesn't work for dual screens is what I'm saying. Even then, it usually has to take a hit or get status while setting up. And then it wears itself down with Life Orb Recall, leaving it easier to revenge KO. Basically, I believe that there is enough relevant counterplay to Barbaracle. Alright, let's be a Phantom, says the leader. Barbaracle is a bit too unhealthy for the tier. I've been running Life Orb sets, and they've been able to cut through dedicated counters, quote-unquote, like Gastrodon and Vileplume, with just a bit of hazard support. There's just not much able to stop it once it gets going with the myriad of viable support options like screens and veils. Supporting Barb doesn't take a whole lot of effort. Additionally, Barb also doubles up as a breaker, so even in situations where it doesn't fully sweep, it still plays an important part in supporting its team by breaking their defensive backbones, therefore letting another sweeper pick it up when they're left off. And I guess it's fair to a Tough Claws that Barbaracle does have access to. So this one was voted 6-9. IFO, let's read you. The meta is not centered around it, but I believe this is mostly because users have not yet caught up on how problematic it is due to the arguably more toxic presence of such mons such as Pangoro, Sigilyph, and Salazzle. That being said, we have a grand total of 2 mainstream mons which can tank a hit from +2 Barb, Vileplume, and Girder, which is a stretch to even call mainstream. Our ways of revenging it are also limited to obscure mons such as Mach Punch Hitmon Top, Chan, and Lee, and Scarf Salazzle. This, in my eyes, makes Barbaracle a very... It's also interesting that like the lack of hidden power is cool. Like, I mean, it doesn't really matter too much. Like, Scarf Salazzle could run hidden power grass back in the day. It could just run foul play. But, yeah. It will run foul play now. And it ran foul play back in the day, too. This, in my eyes, makes Barb a very unhealthy presence in the meta. And every game it is brought to. So, as unless you have any of the above on every single team. It forces the player to play in ways in which would not give it any given matchup in order to set up. So basically, the player has to play in a way that, like, okay, well, I can revenge kill my opponent with my let's say, I can revenge kill my opponent with my what's a good move that Barb resists? Screw it. I'm just going to do a really bad example, but y'all know what I mean. I can revenge kill my opponent with my tackle from Caterpie because they're at 1%. But if I go for tackle with Caterpie, Barbaracle gets to come in and set up shell smashes. So obviously that's a really extreme example. If you're using Caterpie and RU, you know, man, hats off to you. But that's not the way you're supposed to do it. This, in my eyes, makes Barb a very unhealthy presence. Yes, yes, yes. It forces the player to play in ways. You have to give a match more to prevent from ever setting up. You can't... Oh, he gave a good example. Damn, I should have kept reading. You can't kill Sigilyph with Scarf Passimian's knockoff because then the Barb comes in, set up, and wins. That's a really good example, and I appreciate you, IFO, for putting that down, except for my... I think my Caterpie was a pretty good example, too. But, yeah, this one was still voted Van. I can see what they were talking about. I think Barbaracle also, before, was a big sleeper last time in RU, and last time we had Z moves as well. And then people were able to adapt as well to, like, first impression from Golisopod, because we use Protect and that allowed us to avoid that. People also use Low Kick and stuff like that, which allowed us to blow through Pokemon like Virizion without having to use our Z move. And obviously the Z move back in the day allowed you to blow through even defensive Slowbro. Last but not least, we have Shiftry. Ban, do not ban, do not ban, ban. Just gonna see who has it. We'll read Llama's because Llama's been posting no ban on a lot of them. This is my preferred way to deal with Sun. I think the issue with Shiftry is that it's a Sun sweeper that doesn't struggle with steals in the same way that Vileplume and Leafeon do. Vileplume and Leafeon unfortunately do not get Weather Ball for whatever reason. Knockoff release only serves to make it a better Sun teammate for Vileplume and Fire type Pokemon. The other thing that makes Shiftry so much harder to deal with is that you can run Sucker Punch on it, so when Sun ends, it's very difficult to check offensively. For example, a Scarf Ice Cream Cone, Vanillix, something that can deal with the Firemon should be an adequate Sun Sweeper. Plus something that can deal with the Firemon should be an adequate Sun Sweeper. Sun Answer. But Scarf Ice Cream fails to take a +2 Sucker Punch. I think for the time being, Shiftry is the thing that is too much for RU, not the other aspects of the tier. Okay, I mean, I guess it's fair. Basically the +2, by the way, is because you use Growth in the Sun, and Growth gives you +2 attack and special attack. It's amazing. You don't have to use either Swords Dance or Nasty Plot. You can just use Growth to do both. But yeah, let me see the do not ban. Vivo. Why are we even choosing to ban this mon out of all things? I made plenty of teams. I can confidently say I doubt this is the mon we should be testing, and I completely agree with iPhone and Felly and think we should focus our attention on something else, like Trapinch. Sun has a hard counter, which is Gigalith. Trapinch Trapinch completely destroys that counter on its own, allowing Sun to do something. And that's not like a BS response, by the way, because Trapinch with Arena Trap is actually decent, and it can trap things like potentially Ninetales. It can trap. Well, if it's a bad Ninetales, it could trap Gigalith as well, which is the big thing, right? So, and Sun sometimes does run Trapinch too. Shiftry do not ban. I don't see how this mod is even remotely close to being broken. It is not too good relative to the rest of the meta. The meta is not centralized around it, and it does not cause severe team matchup restrictions, as we have plenty of offensive and defensive checks for it too that are by no means obscure. If people want to nerf Sun, I think they should look to more problematic mons like Trapinch. That's so funny to me, man, that Trapinch is seen as problematic mon. But I mean, Arena Trap is always deemed as broken, right? Even on a Pokemon like that. If y'all didn't know, Trapinch has the same attack stat as Flygon, base 100. So Trapinch traps and kills Sun's best answer in Gigalith, without the Gigalith user being able to do anything. And I do think it's like vice versa as well. Like Trapinch can also pick off a weakened Ice Cream Cone, and it can also pick off weakened Sun too. So Trapinch is funny. Best counter give without the Gigalith user being able to do anything about it. It is skillless by nature. Shiftry, however, is not particularly problematic in my eyes. And I want to see a Featherburn. Do not ban. Like I said, Free is usually one of those mons that abuses Sun the best, and now it has access to knockoff, making it better. However, I don't think this is the mon that makes Sun outright broken. I still think Trapinch is a bigger problem for beating Sun rather than Shiftry. I guess those are all fair accusations, because like if you can't deal with it with opposing weather, right? Like Gigalith is a straight up answer to Sun, period, right? Gigalith will always switch into Ninetales, will always switch into Torkoal. Even if it gets Will-O-Wisp, man, you can just have support. You can use Rest in your Gigalith too, which is still like Gigalith doubles as an answer for Sun, but it's also a Sigilyph answer too. So if I guess 3 people on the council. Are there more do not ban? I want to see what Mr. Oliver says. I'm from the philosophy that something is broken under a specific scenario, then it isn't the mon's fault. Sun isn't broken without Shiftry, but Shiftry isn't broken without Sun either. If you ask me, I think Drought is at fault here, and while Sun is far less good without Shiftry, I don't believe it's a healthy playstyle to have on a meta, with far less Sun checks if you ask me. It's a cool mixed attacker and wall breaker, and I think it deserves without Sun on the map, but it is how it is. So I guess they also kind of expected people to vote ban, but that's interesting that multiple people on the council agreed. Well, three people on the council agreed that agreed that it's not Shiftry, it's not Sun, it's Trapinch that makes it seem like it's an answer because again, Gigalith is a guarantee one. So guys, let me know your thoughts on that. I have used Trapinch as well. I've used Trapinch to trap Gigalith as well. I've used Trapinch in a couple of Showdown lives too, and just on the ladder. Like I said, I haven't played too much RU this generation, even though it was my favorite last gen. But let me know your thoughts on those. So all four were banned. The upside is again more Pokemon added to the BL Knights. I do think that Eevee is also an RU leader, so they were talking about potentially retesting later, so that's interesting too. But yeah, I guess we'll end up seeing what ends up happening. So, guys, let me know your thoughts on the bans. I'll see you guys later today with a Showdown Live and a Wi-Fi battle. Goodbye, my friends.